Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, how's everyone doing? It is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. And oh boy, this is the RambleCast. We're going to be oh boy. This has been a week. Um it's I'm not going to call it a good one, but it has been a week. It has had effects on certainly everyone's sanity. So as you may notice, I'm here alone. There is no Corbin today. He was unavoidably detained. A bit last minute too, which uh, always throws a bit of a wrench in the works. Um, so we're gonna kick it off with some good news. I mean, Corbin deported. If Nils has not been deported yet, Corbin's probably a little safe. Um, but yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna try with the good news to start. And okay, it's not the biggest thing, but hey, The Last of Us has been renewed for a third season before they've even released the second. I say cheers to this. Um, you can always tell when a network is really happy with a show. It, I mean, it's obviously kind of a stunt, but at the same time, it's definitely not. Um, Anytime they just come right out and say, "Hey, guess what? We're bringing it back," and yeah, we haven't. We don't even know what people are thinking about the second season. We're bringing it back anyway. We know people are gonna love it. That is that is for sure a way to communicate that they think the show is good. Whether or not it actually is could certainly be up for debate. But yeah, I think it's a safe bet that this is probably a winner. Also, I don't know if this is the case, but I do remember speculating that what they would probably do after they hinted at maybe splitting up the second game into multiple seasons. One of the hypotheses that I had was that they were actually just making seasons 2, 3, and however many more. That they were basically going to make them all together, and so they were probably committing to a multi-season renewal anyway. My hunch is that's probably what's happening here. They're just making the formal announcement. Hey, guess what? By the way, yeah, season 3 totally gonna happen. But it makes for better press if they just say, nah, this is the first we're deciding. Anyway, so yay, we can look forward to some more of The Last of Us somewhere in the future after the new season is over, which I believe begins at the end of this month. That's correct, right? Premieres April 13th. Oh, so it's this weekend. Oh, you absolute a-holes. I I'm sure nobody else cares about this, but man, I'm going to be I'm going to be working so hard to to chew through some Overwatch this weekend cuz they're going to have competitive drives since it's the end of the season. Um so I mean, I'll get to this, like that's not that big of a deal, but still kind of wish that kind of wish that the timing was maybe a weekend down the road or something. Anyway, whatever. Not important. People are saying Abby will look more attractive than Ellie in the show when in the game it was the other way around. Oh boy. Uh the mere fact that people care about that is laughable. Cuz man, if that was the if that was in any way, shape, or form part of the storyline in the game, I don't remember it. Actually, if anything, I seem to remember at least one guy being kind of into Abby. So, is what it is. Um, Also, it, you know, I yeah, I don't know. I struggle with the idea that any character in the show was particularly symbolized by their looks. Um, because I seem to remember everyone just sort of being a fairly normal looking person. I don't remember anyone in the game being being judged or in some way having looks that were relevant. Um, and I'm really trying to think if there was any exceptions. I can't even remember anyone who was like definitively unattractive. Obviously, people got really caught up in a very muscly Abby, and that did actually factor in a little bit to the game. Not a ton, but it was a little bit symbolic of her character. I don't remember there being a lot of a lot else besides that. And as far as looking muscly, that's that's where I did find a little bit of questionable casting in Caitlyn. Cuz she doesn't look like a muscly person. So, I don't know. Anyway, uh Carson, you're going to watch it on your flight to Japan on Monday. Okay, I'm jealous. Anyway, so this I'm going to count as the good news of the week because oh boy, not much more of that. I mean, there's a little bit. There's a little bit. Actually, there's definitely some good news towards the end too. Um I just realized I have something in the wrong order, but oh well, that's not important. First, let's start off with the insanity. Um y'all know it. There's no avoiding it. This this was the news of the week, and it dominated all news, all of the last week, or at least since it was announced. It was what on Friday or Thursday? Thursday, I think. Um, or was it Wednesday? Whatever. It was Wednesday. Okay, yeah, that's why I didn't sell off some stuff in time. Um, yeah, on Wednesday, uh, the person purporting to be our president announced tariffs, a sweeping set of tariffs that were, for lack of a better word, cuckoo caca. Um, Nobody spoil it in Discord. Uh, you know what? I will make a point of stuffing everything into. If I talk about it at all, I'll make a point of doing spoiler tags and might be threads or whatever they're called. I think it's threads. Anyway, so the cuckoo caca tariffs. That's what we're going to be calling them from here on out. So here's the deal on those. Um, they were insane. I'm not gonna go down the entire explanation of them, but the short version is, there were a massive list of the tariffs that would be applied to each country, government, what have you, um, and they were made up by the weirdest formula, which anyone who wants more detail on this can certainly find detail about the tariff formula. I'm sure if you just Google for Trump tariff formula, you'll find plenty of people who are willing to do a more deep dive examination than I'm about to do here. But the simple version is they basically just calculated the what is considered the trade deficit, or rather the delta of or not, sorry, not Delta, but the imbalance of trade between the United States and whatever country it was, and divided by two, if I remember. So basically, if the United States buys more from a country than that country buys from us, their tariffs are higher. That's it. That's how it ultimately works out. If we buy roughly the same amount, then from each other, or if we buy less from them than they buy from us, then they were just given a 10% flat tariff. Uh, but if we buy more from them than they buy from us, their tariffs go up proportionally and by percentage, which makes it particularly amusing because I apologize, I forget the name of the country, but there's a country in Africa where their tariff was astronomically high. And it turns out that it's just because they have a lot of diamonds that we buy from them. And because they are a developing country that has basically no other money, uh, they don't buy anything from us. They can't afford anything that would come from us. Oh, yeah, it's on food too. Yeah, the tariffs were applied to everything. As I understand it, there were some very narrow cut exceptions, or there were going to be, but I don't think those were discussed. Um, I think that was supposed to be like a later, like a thing that would be applied later or something. Anyway, um, and I may have misheard that. To be honest, there was such a flood of insane uh, it, craziness. It was kind of hard to keep track of all the details. Anyway, so the formula was obviously farcical. It meant nothing. It was just an excuse to raise tariffs in ways that were inconsistent. It looks random, um, because it honestly kind of is. So this leads us back to well, it leads us to the obvious side effect, which was, well, this was a stock market in the last week. Um, and strictly speaking, this is actually wrong because this starts as of Thursday morning. Here, let's change to the month view. Oh yeah, that's what it did. Right there. That's what it did. Yeah, stock market crashed. Like people are calling it a bear market. No. No, this was the definition of a crash. Uh the S&P 500 tanked by let's see, 15%. That's huge. That is monstrous. It barely moves more than a percent or two in a day on big days normally. Like every once in a while you have a couple of bigger drops or rate rises, but generally speaking, the S&P 500 stays in the 1 to 2% range, falling 15% over I guess it was I guess it technically took a few days. But yeah, this is mad. Um some food you can't even grow in the US, correct? Actually, a lot of food. There's a surprising amount of food that can't be grown here. That being said, however, there's also the United States, if I remember correctly, or rather, well, yeah, no, all of the United States. We're the only country in the world, I believe. I might have that wrong. Actually, China might be in the same spot. But I think we are the only country in the world that technically has every different kind of geological land. Well, the best term I have for it is biome. I'm not sure if that's even correct, but Minecraft players know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, but like, as far as I can recall, no other country in the world has deserts, swamps. No, not ecosystem. Ecosystem would imply a few different things and includes a few other expectations. But I'm talking more specifically about just the different kinds of landscapes and uh, landforms that we have. So we have, or at least had, glaciers, like I said, swamps, deserts. We've got, um, let's see, forests, mountains, hills. Obviously, it's a lot of this stuff is fairly basic, but we have, um, obviously, like ocean or oceanfront terrain. Um, thought we drained the swamp. Yeah. Um, but I'm not sure if China has all of it or just most of it. For example, I honestly don't recall if China has swamps. I would assume that they do, right? Uh, or maybe there's something else that they're missing. I don't know. Anyway, China might be like I said, the one exception. Otherwise, no other country in the world, no other single country at least, has all of the same things that we do. So as a result, and we have literally everything else. Like we have everything that is in the world. So strictly speaking, outside of a few specific issues, we are the most capable of growing anything in the world. We still can't grow everything, but we are more capable than any other country. Um, Not that any of that is important because we're not going to grow everything. That's insane. We literally don't have that capacity. Like even having the right terrains and weather and everything else, we don't have the capacity to grow everything. Um, well, capacity or capability. And even if we did, let's be honest, we still wouldn't do it. Anyway, so the stock market obviously went to pot. And as of this morning, as you can see, and many of you have probably already heard this, the tariffs have gotten a 90-day delay. Woohoo! And so as a result, uh, as of 10 a.m. this morning, everyone was sad. By 10:30 this morning, everyone was happy. um, or at least everyone in the with stocks, like any stocks. I'm not going to show mine, but some of mine went up pretty well, or rather recovered mostly, or at least made enough recovery to be not panic territory. But yeah. So that said, um 90 days, folks. We get to return to this stupidity in 90 days. Um or if you're anything like me, I will be selling off most, if not everything, in 80 days. Because frankly, I think pure chaos will be happening in that roughly week and a half between um, between when I intend to sell everything off and when the next deadline is coming up. We'll just see how it goes. Um, Carson, you bought the dip. I bought a little of it. The stuff that I picked up, I bought halfway through the dip, not expecting it to just continue free falling for about 2 more days. But I did pick up a little bit of it, or I picked up a few shares of something here and there, just because the prices had dropped pretty spectacularly already. So, um, right now, none of it is a profit, but a couple things are close. So, that's something. Um, let's see. So yeah, this is gonna be stupidity. It's gonna be wild. Oh, by the way, yeah, as far as it goes, when the next deadline comes, oh, you better believe I'm gonna be ready to buy some dips. Um, but I'm gonna be waiting a little longer to pick them up because again, I think it's going to be about a week of pure chaos, and once all the damage is done, I'm going to be ready and waiting to see what happens. And then if any last minute changes occur, I intend to be watching like a hawk and just buy the instant that a big reversal comes or anything like that. Um so yeah, that might be. Oh no, what's breaking? Also, do we, do we have a more credible source? Um, Chrome 135 rolling out edge to edge design on Android. Oh man. Okay, I have to point something out. Let's see. So I visited that page, and I'd just like to point out this is what took over. Oh, 9 to 5. Apply better rules to your advertisers. And maybe page jacking won't become a problem. Oh my god. Oh, did it go? Oh no, it didn't go full page jack. Oh, it did. Oh, it eliminated my wow, it eliminated the history. Oh my god, guys. Do better. Sites need to look, this is a thing. Sites need to actually be smart about this stuff. It, they're not being. They just they yeah. Okay, anyway. So edge to edge design on Android. Um okay. I mean, do we yeah, okay. I got to be honest, I don't care about this. I mean, like cheers, I know this matters to some people. Um I've just never been that focused on um reclaiming reclaiming that little bit of extra screen real estate, especially on modern phones. Um okay. So, yeah, I'm going to move away from that. Anyway, who knows what other JavaScript is running. Um so give it a month. Um oh, is bad on the fold. Okay, I could see that being a pretty good reason for caring, cuz yeah, certain screens are going to handle things differently or poorly. Um I just I again, on modern phones it feels like kind of not that big of a it feels like you're clawing back next to nothing. Um but hey, I don't know. That's Pixel tablet too. Well, tablets in general, but tablets have a lot of other problems. They need to handle tablets differently anyway. That's just a persistent truth. Is tablets get shafted layout in pretty much every conceivable way. Um, okay, so anyway, yeah, at this stage, the way I'm looking at it is everyone has 3 months to do whatever shopping sprees they're going to do. If you are, sorry, there is some little thing flying around that I'm really going to kill. Um, Trump is probably insider trading, you say? Uh, I don't think that's a probably. The market manipulation is pretty mechanical at this stage. It's predictable. Um, every time tariffs have been announced, market tumbles, or at least falls somewhat. Every time then after, there's some sort of a delay or pause or a mitigation of some kind, or oh, someone worked a deal, supposedly, even though weirdly a lot of deals never actually got worked or happened. So yeah, it's plain and simple. This is market manipulation. It is definitely a profit engineering scam. Um, and as long as you're the thing is, I don't know that he himself is necessarily doing the insider trading. I suspect it's more likely that he's working with a lot of other people who are doing all of the insider trading. Um, and now that I think about it, there was, hold on, there was an article. Yeah, right here. Um, I think it kind of falls in line pretty well with this. The DOJ under Trump will no longer prosecute cryptocurrency fraud. If anyone out there thinks that this is just going to apply to cryptocurrency, you're probably insane, because I'd be fairly willing to bet it's going to apply to most SEC violations. I suspect it's going to apply to virtually all things involving securities. Well, currencies and securities. So yeah, um, insider trading is very likely legal for the next, I would guess, 4 years. Um, so if anybody would like to get involved in insider trading, cheers. Let me in on it. Um, for that matter, uh, I might be open to doing some crypto rug pulls too, if anyone can find one to get involved in. I'm only half kidding. I'm mostly kidding, but I mean, if 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 I'm scamming the right people, I might be okay with it. Anyway, um, okay, that's me kidding. Um, all right, so enough of that. But with the tariffs going into effect in supposedly 3 months, a lot of companies, I'm sure, are going to be doing massive inventory builds. They're I think it's safe to assume a lot of them are going to be ordering just like Apple reportedly just did. They flew multiple planes filled to the brim with iPhones from India to the US. I expect the same thing is probably going to be happening with everyone who produces anything that otherwise would be tariffed, with the possible exception of those who would pull from China, because China now has a 125% tariff on it. This was, of course, the one exception. And, well, a lot of stuff gets made in China. A lot of resources are sourced from China. Um, yeah, this is going to become the one uh, the one weird exception. Trump said it was because of reciprocal tariffs, and basically, uh, whatever you do to us, we do back to you. Times two, no takesies backsies. Um, and so, yeah, for whatever reason, that means we have to have uh, China trade war. But hey, that's the world we apparently have to live in right now. Yes, there are a lot of MAGA hats that are made in China. In fact, as we learned many years ago from, I believe it was Jordan Kepler, uh, though it could have been somebody else. It doesn't matter who. Virtually all MAGA memorabilia is made in China, with a small amount of it, I believe, coming out of the Philippines or something. But still, yeah, most of their crap is made in China, which is so fitting. Oh, anyway, um, let's see. I see Nils is getting overwhelmed by the Times Square. That's good. Um, okay, so amidst all of this, and here's where we actually get this back to a tech topic, sort of. One of the just objectively crazy things to come out of this whole ordeal has been Trump claiming, with no evidence or no basis, that iPhones can be made in the U.S. And this started down a weird road of all kinds of different things being said, some of which are true, some of which are false. One of the things that apparently Steve Jobs and a few others have said is this simply isn't true because China has all of the tooling engineers and a lot of other mechanical engineers who are involved in the manufacturing, and they basically run support in the factories. Um, yeah, that's I don't I look, I try to keep it clean for the show, but that's horseshit. It just is. It's not actually true. Um, the presumption is that the U.S. just simply doesn't have they cited 30,000 tooling engineers. For starters, I would be skeptical that uh, that China just happens to have 30,000 tooling engineers lying around, hanging out in stadiums or whatever. But I'm sure that I'm sure that they do have more. I don't doubt that for a second. However, I know some in the US. I went to college with a few, and I know at least a couple of them that they're not looking for jobs, but if something like this were to come up, they jump on them. They jump on it in a heartbeat, not even a question. And I went to a pretty tiny college, all things considered, so I'm willing to bet there are a few more floating around that would love to take a job like this. Furthermore, the workers in the U.S. would theoretically, stress theoretically, probably require at least a little bit less training um, and support. I think we all know that's not really true, but it's a nice theory. But here's the thing: back when this number was given, it also asserted that they needed 700,000 workers in China, plus the 30,000 that are engineers. But that was when they were manufacturing every single iPhone in the every single iPhone for the world, all in China. The notion the notion falls apart a little bit quicker when you realize, oh, but what if they were just making iPhones for the US in the US? Could they not have a smaller, more reasonably sized factory that handles that process? And granted, the US is an overwhelmingly large percentage of Apple's iPhone sales. The fact is, we're not that overwhelming. We're they they could still do this. They could certainly do the assembly of the iPhones. And sure, some components might still come out of other places and could still be charged tariffs. But the practical reality is they absolutely could do this in the US. Um, the problem is definitely not that there just aren't enough engineers, not enough trained people. The problem is this: they have, or at least had in China, 700,000 workers. That's a lot. In case anyone hasn't heard, that little secret, that's a lot of effing people. And how much do they get paid? Well, there were some scandals back when Steve Jobs was still alive where people brought up the, oh yeah, how much are they getting paid question. And the answer was universally, oh God, it's terrible. They're getting paid slave wages, but at least by comparison to what we would be paid here. So it goes without saying, that's the difference. Apple still cared about the money. It wasn't about a lack of trained or skilled workers, it was about the money. And that's guaranteed today still the reason why Apple doesn't want to move production to the US. They will, in all likelihood, bounce production between the Philippines, India, China, or wherever it is that is just simply the cheapest to do it. And I don't blame them. I mean, it's not great. There are certainly problems with that, but that's the business. That's how it works. And yeah, they're not going to bend over backwards to solve this in any other way. So, um, yeah, it's a nice theory, but it doesn't hold up. Um, that said, Trump would actually be right. iPhones could be made in the U.S. Would it necessarily cover all of the U.S.'s demand? Maybe, maybe not. Probably it would be tight. But the bigger problem remains, it would just cost too much. Moving to set up all of that in the US, even if it's just assembly, to do it in the US would be very expensive. Um and I'm willing to bet that Apple does not want to do that because the iPhone, which is already for sure on the upper end of the price scale, it already costs enough that there are a lot of people who say, you know what, maybe I need to skip an extra year on every cycle, um, or at the very least they can only get the phone when there's a really good trade-in deal or anything to that effect where it's sort of just an acknowledgement the price is high. And that's the whole thing. The price is very high. If they want to maintain their profit margins, they can't make these in the US. There you go. That's the reality. If Apple wants to maintain the same profit margin on a very expensive electronic device, they either make it in a country where it can be made cheaply, or they raise the price to something that most people are unwilling to pay. There you go. That's the realities of it. And that's why an iPhone, if you consider price to be part of what an iPhone is, that's why an iPhone can't be built in the United States. Because it'll cost, I'm just going to ballpark $2,000 for not even like the top of the line. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it'll be 1900. But in the until somebody actually figures out exactly what it would cost, I'm going to go with $2,000. And that's going to be the iPhone, not the Pro, not an XL, just an iPhone. Maybe with a slight storage upgrade. Anyway, so yeah, that's That's kind of the weird offshoot subject that just seems to have been attached to tariffs for reasons unspecified. But turning attention to the other company that um, had some interesting tariff related drama, but this story not about tariffs. The Switch 2. This is a follow up to last week's discussion. I think it was last week, where I basically said, "Wow, if the game key cards are tied to your account, then like basically what happens? Do you just buy the card, stick it in, download the game, and from that point on, do you still need the card? And for that matter, what happens if you want to resell the game? Like, is that still a thing?" And evidently, it is, or to some extent, it is. Um, so apparently, yes, you the game key cards, which don't contain the game, they just contain a special code for downloading the game. Um, Basically, yeah, you buy the card, stick it in, you download the game, and the card will basically still have to be inserted in order to play the game. I'm assuming it basically has like a decoder or like some sort of a cryptographic key or something like that for the purpose of like unlocking or activating the game. Um, and as long as it's installed, you're okay. You get to keep playing. Yay. Um, and when you take out the card, game is, I would presume, no longer available, no longer functional. Um, so with that, the neat part comes with the fact that presumably, since it's not attached to your Nintendo account, you can also share the game, hand it off to a friend. They can play it for a weekend or whatever. Or you can just outright sell it, which means that there can still be an aftermarket for physical games for Switch. Uh, this is, of course, important to those who consider aftermarket sales to be an important part of their purchasing. GameStop lives for a few more years. Does it, though? I swear at this point, GameStop only exists for the stock. Like, the stock being almost a meme in and of itself is the purpose of GameStop. Anyway, so I don't have a lot else to say about this. I think Nintendo was smart to do it this way because mostly because people were going to rage out at the idea of losing the ability to sell your games. Um, that being said, how many people are going to be honestly, show of hands if you're getting one. How many people are actually going to buy the physical games? Sure, it costs $10 more. Or at least that's how people are expecting it right now. But how many people are really going to buy the physical game? I think the vast majority are still not going to choose that. Um, Diablo. Um, I, I mean, it's certainly up in the air. I'm sure there will be people who want to buy the physical disc for assorted reasons, but or sorry, card. Um, but I think the vast majority are not going to choose that. Just because one, saving $10 on the price, two, I I I'm sure some people want or they'll factor in the idea that I'll buy the game, play it for the next 2 months, and then sell it. I'm sure there will be people that do that. I'm not doubting that for a minute. But I think the majority are probably going to go the other direction with this, where um, you buy a game and you mostly plan on keeping it. So you're probably going to buy it digitally because it saves money. Um, that being said, shops that are built on the idea of buying and selling used games, GameStop obviously being one of them, I imagine they are going to push really hard to encourage people to buy the physical games because that life cycle of buy, sell, replace is very, very profitable to those stores. Um, Honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. Uh, if GameStop was smart, I know that the words that just came out of my mouth, it really already speak to the future. But if GameStop were smart, they would actually give a discount on the physical games. Encourage people to buy the physical games from GameStop or wherever. Honestly, wherever. Because that puts more physical games into the world, and those will then go through that cycle of buy, play it for a couple months, sell, replace. And by sell, replace, what I mean is you sell the game for, let's just say, GameStop. Uh, all right, let's say it's an $80 game normally, $90 if you buy it in game key card form. Um, let's say GameStop comes back and says, "Oh, that's yeah, look, we can't pay full price and we can't even pay half price, but on your $80 or $90 game, we will offer you $30." Or yeah, let's just say $30. I don't know what their typical exchange or turnover rate is, but let's just say it's $30. They're then going to sell that game for 50. That's good profit. They like it. Whoever's buying the game for $50 likes it, and that person that bought it for $50 is going to come back in a month or 2 months after they played out a game and say, "Yeah, I'm done with this." "Oh, you'll give me $30 for it? Deal." That's the cycle. That's what GameStop needs to do to make its money loop. It is a free money loop to an extent. Um, I'm sure GameStop is not going to be very successful with this, but it's something that they, I'm sure, kind of need to do. Anyway, so I'm not gonna belabor this one too much. It was more just follow up. But now on to what I would argue is probably the meatiest of the stories of the week that is in itself not at all tariff related, not politics related. We have one of those. Actually, we have two of those. I have one more after this, but it's a smaller thing. Or something I think no one's going to care about is actually the better way to say it, but whatever. Anyway, this one, the Pixel 10. We have the maybe kind of sort of rumor here about the camera. And apparently there is the Pixel 10 is going to be shifting its design strategy to be more like the Pixel 10 Pro, or well, the Pro series, while also doing the reverse. It's really weird. So the expectation here, the rumor that they are highlighting, suggests that what Google is going to do with the Pixel 10 is bring it up to a third rear camera, just like the Pro series gets. This means it would have the regular wide camera and ultra wide camera, which are both currently part of the Pixel 9, but it would also gain a telephoto camera, which is something that's typically reserved for the Pro. So the principle here would be that instead of getting, or instead of being down a camera, the trade-off is they're going to shrink the sensors. So as you can see in this graphic, which credit to Android Authority for this. I will link in chat if anyone would like to read more of the details. So the Pixel 10, the main camera sensor. By the way, previous versions of the Pixel cameras or Pixel phones have been basically the major, or all of the cameras on the base Pixel have been identical to the cameras of the Pro Pixels. So if you had something that was, let's say, well, none of them have been 1-inch sensors, but hypothetically, if you had a 1-inch main wide camera, or sorry, if for the wide camera you used a 1-inch sensor in the Pro, you would have had a 1-inch sensor in the base model. That arrangement would not be remaining the same here. Instead, they would be going for, and the example here is in the Pro version, your main camera would be in the Pro version, the main camera would be a 1/1.3 inch sensor. I'm just going to round these off. So yes, it says 1/1.31. We're just going to go with rounding because trust me, that little difference is hardly making any difference at that stage. But in the base Pixel, that would actually be basically a just barely better than a 1/2-inch sensor. We're talking a massive gap. This is huge in terms of light collection. This is going to be huge in terms of it's going to have a natural effect on bokeh, bokeh, that is not going to look good. For those that don't know, smaller sensors get less bokeh. There are a few reasons for this. I'm not going to go down the whole explanation, but it's a thing. So yeah, basically the way this is going, the Pixel 10 Pro is going to have substantially better sensors. Not only that, but I think it's interesting that they're also going to be using a Samsung sensor for the telephoto and on the base model, and a Sony sensor on the Pro model. Otherwise, the sensors match up by manufacturer across both the base and the Pro, just in different sizes. That is a choice. That is certainly a choice. I'm not sure why they're doing it that way, but it is a choice. So yeah, these are, for lack of a better way to say it, these are going to be rough. I would not want to base Pixel 10 if I cared about photos. Just straight up, I'm just going to come out harsh on this one. If you are buying a Pixel phone for the cameras, do not get a base Pixel 10. You will want a 10 Pro, assuming these rumors are correct. Because it is going to make a massive difference in terms of ultimate quality. And a shootout between these two phones is, I think, going to become a very, very common thing. Every site and a lot of YouTube channels are probably going to do specific comparisons between these two phones because it is going to be that big of a difference. And I'll say it right now, wherein MKBHD every year they do that shootout between all the cameras, that blind comparison. I'm gonna just say it right now. The Pixel 10 is going to get knocked out first round. Well, maybe not first round, but it's going to get knocked out pretty early. Whereas the Pixel 10 Pro will probably still be a final round contender. You'd have to have one hell of a crazy scenario for that not to be the case. But we shall see. Let's see. I will note, obviously, software can do a lot to correct for some of this, and it'll have to. it literally has no choice. It has to correct for a lot because again, um, the different sensor sizes will actually have a very real effect on the final uh, shape of the image. It's not going to just affect how much light gathering they have. It will affect the amount of bokeh that is that they get. It actually affects it's going to affect a bit of the perceived um, focal range. So the cameras that have um, a smaller sensor are going to have a look that is a little bit more telephoto even in the wide cameras. This is a hard thing to explain, and you really need to see, you really have to see a comparison of like a micro four thirds camera versus like a full frame camera where they're set to the same focal range, but when you can see what the micro four thirds camera gets out of this, it looks different. It looks different because it actually looks more telephoto than the camera that has a larger sensor. Um, and I really just wish I had a way to properly explain this, but you can frame up two images, and you'll see it in the background. Like the whatever they're focused on is going to look fine, but whatever is in the background is going to look very, very different. Um, and I expect the same will be roughly true with this, just because the distance between a 1 over 1.3 sensor versus a basically half inch sensor, a 1 over 2 sensor, uh, that's pretty striking. That is a very significant shift in range. It lands. It's not exactly the same as that. That's basically the difference between a micro four thirds camera and somewhere between a full frame and an APS-C sensor. Like right in between the two. Okay, for a second I thought the music had fully stopped. Okay. Anyway, um, I, again, I'm gonna come out full stop. If anyone cares enough about the camera, like if you actually care about image quality and everything, it's probably worth it just to go for the 10 Pro. Just full stop. The sensors are gonna be better. Your night vision is gonna be better with the 10 Pro now. Um, the sharpness at range, actually the sharpness might be a little bit better on the crop sensor camera, maybe just a tiny bit. um at closer range, you're gonna want the larger sensors. um Otherwise, yeah, this is a weird choice because they're also going to be different. Like one of the big side effects too is they're going to have to make sure that the camera app accounts for these differences, because in the past the camera app has had the ability to just kind of fudge, or it's decent at fudging, which is why it works on other cameras pretty well too, not just the ones that are in Pixel phones. um but I have a funny feeling that they're gonna have to factor in uh some other things to like do image correction. I can't be sure of that, but it feels likely. Okay, man, I by the way, if it wasn't obvious from my Discord message, it was hard to come up with topics for this week. In large part because the tariff news really just demolished a lot of what's coming out, a lot of what's being covered. Um, Companies that were going to announce things, I actually know about a couple, did not announce stuff this last week because They didn't want to. For one, I think a lot of companies know full well that the news cycle was pretty well obliterated thanks to the tariff news. But in many cases, also because they didn't know for sure that the products that they wanted to announce could be released at the prices that they intended to announce them. Uh, and that applies not just to hardware. There were a couple companies that I know of that intended to release software, and they were not totally sure if they would actually have to make make adjustments for tariffs because they were afraid that some of that that the current administration might actually try charging software. So yeah, news this week has been a little on the dry side. However, one company did announce a new version. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of people aren't going to care about this, but I think it is interesting, and I think even if you don't care about this, you might notice the effects of it if you watch much YouTube and possibly even some other TV. So Blackmagic Design released, or well, announced and and released a beta of DaVinci Resolve 20. So the company has been ramping up its release cycle a bit. In the past, they weren't necessarily releasing a new version each year. They did, however, release 19 last year at the same time, I believe I think it was at the same time, during an event called NAB. That's a trade show in Las Vegas. And yeah, just to put it lightly, DaVinci Resolve 20 is huge. There are a ton of new features. I believe they announced that there are 200 new features. I might have that number slightly wrong. Some of the stuff that they announced are it's stuff that people just been looking forward to, like having text layers on the text plus object as opposed to just a single layer. This basically makes it so that in your timeline you can have a single object that has more text on it as opposed to creating several different tracks all just for text. So it's a quality of life change. They added just again lots of little stuff there. The color page has a new let's see where wait, did I pass over it? Yeah, okay. It has a new color adjustment tool called Chroma Warp. Let's see. One thing I think is kind of neat is they have a new noise reduction tool that's going to be using AI for noise reduction. They already had something that was like that, but this is going to be a new thing that can be used in addition to their existing stuff. So that's, again, nice improvements. I'm going to kind of skip over some of these others. There's a lot. Anyone who does any sort of video editing at all is going to like at least a few of the things in here. The crazy stuff, however, I try not to talk about much AI stuff, but they did some crazy AI stuff. So one of the things that they announced, okay, let me start by saying, just because it's kind of first up in their list or near first, most of the stuff they announced happens fully locally. It's not using cloud. It's just local. The one big exception to this was the AI set extender. This is a feature that it's kind of like what you've seen in Adobe's products, where you can basically just increase the dimensions of your frame and say, hey, based on the picture that you're looking at, give me an extra 20% on either side. 20% is maybe a little sizable, but Yeah, it gives you the ability to fill out the frame with completely generated content. This seems to be something that's going to be happening in their cloud service. It's not a local thing, at least, and I wouldn't expect it to be, because this is a pretty demanding and complicated thing to do locally. But yeah, it's a neat addition. That said, let's see. It was all their other AI tools that I thought were pretty neat, and it's a lot of, or it's all stuff, at least as far as I'm aware, it's all stuff that happens locally. Um, so they now have a thing where you can literally just write your script. And by that I mean the text of your script. You just write it out in a file and load up that script. What DaVinci Resolve will do is it will look through all of the recorded footage that you have, clip it up, layer it, and give you what it thinks is the best version of you producing that script. So you can record like several different takes and then just feed it the script, and it will find the good takes and it edit it all together for you. Like, that is actual good use of AI. And it leaves it in a state where you can where you can fix things you think were mistakes that it made. You can correct little issues that it may have goofed up on. Obviously, like, you can edit different things together and have overlapping segments, but you can do it. You can do everything that you want with this, and it's actually a useful, functional tool. There is this the one that does the wait, is that the same one? Make sure I'm not thinking okay, yeah, there's a creepy one. I'll get to it in a minute, but there's another thing where you can, this AI dialogue matcher. Basically what it's for is for doing ADR. That's what they call it when you if you recorded a scene or shot a scene and the audio in that scene is not usable, what they can do is go back into a sound stage, re-record the audio, and you try to make it sound like it was recorded in the original setting. So a lot of times that means layering noise and doing a lot of filtration to try to make it sound as similar as possible. And sometimes this is really, really time consuming and expensive. This feature basically tries to recreate a lot of that soundstage just for free. And in theory, you can basically have kind of cheap, low effort ADR that sounds like it was expensive. That's a pretty big accomplishment. So cheers to that. One of the things, I linked to this in Discord, an AI music editor where you can just say, I want this track to be longer or shorter, and it will just take some music, find where you can chop that music up, and it will either extend or contract that music, and it sounds seamless. It is ridiculous how effective this is and how good it sounds. I don't have a example handy, but yeah, just watch the video that I linked in Discord, because holy crap, it is so cool. The animated subtitles that's not AI. Why are they calling that AI? I guess because it detects when the words come. Let's see. There's this one. This is nothing special. The AI multicam smart switch. All it's doing is it looks at I mean, it is special, but it's not super special. You can take multicam footage and it can detect when is somebody talking. And it does this not just by voices, but it actually looks at like the mouth in the video. And it can be like, oh, this person's talking, we'll change to this view. And okay, this person stopped, someone else is talking, we'll change to a view on them. It just does this for you, and it just clips up a scene so it all is pre-edited in it just automatically, um, which saves an editor a ton of time if they have to do that kind of stuff. In theory, I could do that with the RambleCast. Um, I and someday maybe I will. um, let's see. I'm specifically skipping over one just to say it. They have a new masking tool, AI Magic Mask 2. I won't say much about it. It basically, you can just click on a subject and it is really, really, really good at identifying the edges of the subject and um, making it so you can mask them very, very fast. The AI Super Scale, it's literally just upscaling images and giving you more sharpness. This is done right in, again, locally, and it very effective. Um, let's see. A depth map you can automatically detect based on. I'm not really sure how it's figuring it out, but it can detect the depth of things in a video. Um, so yeah, this isn't too different than what iPhones and Pixels are already doing for their depth map stuff. Um, except it's on a local machine. So, yay, cool. Um, let's see, audio processing, AI audio assistant, detect music beats. By the way, this is part of this same feature with the music editor that was up above. Um, a music remixer, AI tracking. Oh yeah, you can do more tracking, um, and you can actually link it to audio, which I'm not really sure how that's supposed to work, but yeah, there's more tracking capability, which is just wild. Um, okay, I wanted to come back to one of these just to acknowledge that it is creepy. There's one creepy one in this list. Um, so you can their AI voice convert. Now they say that this one's about ADR. I disagree. Um, this one, what you can do is train a voice model based on a person, and then feed it a different voice, and it converts the original voice to the model of the new person. So it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. Honestly, like I'm glad that it's not very good. But what this basically lets you do is take um let's just say for a second uh somebody wanted to impersonate me. You feed it the audio from a RambleCast or wherever. Obviously, the music in the background of the RambleCast would kind of ruin those voice models, but yay, that I guess is maybe a good thing. Um, but you feed it a voice model, a lot of recordings of a person, and I haven't done this, so I don't know how much goes into creating a voice model or how far you have to train it. But what you can then do is take a recording of, I don't know, let's just say for giggles, Trump. You could then process his voice to sound like my speaking. And it will be my voice that is speaking in the style of Trump and on a Trump video. That's what this does. So you can replace someone's voice in a video with someone else's. Now, in theory, part of the purpose of this, they do say it's for ADR. Um, so the presumed scenario here is that what you're actually supposed to do is have somebody speak lines in a video and then use the AI voice convert to produce a model based on that same actor and have them re-record basically the audio, but then you apply it, or then you use the new audio over top of the original. Um, in theory, that would be the the goal. I don't think that that's how it will be used very often, but I could be wrong. Anyway, um, yeah, there's some wild stuff, and again, all of this, it is done locally. None of this stuff is done in the cloud except for that AI set extender that I talked about at the very top of the AI portion. That's the only thing that seems to be cloud based. So, um, yeah, still basically no subscriptions, no extra costs. DaVinci is doing the good thing with their pricing. I like it. Um, and I would argue outside of maybe that voice thing, they're also doing stuff with AI that's actually good AI. It's the stuff people want from AI. It's not creating bad things for the sake of creating bad things. It's creating things that actually save people time. And for the most part, and this is a bit maybe not, but it's mostly doing stuff that it's not taking over someone else's jobs. So if you needed an editor before, you still need an editor. If if you needed to do most of the various other tasks that are in this list, the one possible exception is like maybe the music related stuff. In theory, you could have needed to hire somebody to make new or different music, but I think realistically no one was doing that. They were just cutting the music themselves, and it just didn't sound as good. Now it'll just sound better, and that's it. Um, let's see. Was there any other stuff that jumps out at me as worthy of mentioning? Um, yeah, I don't think so. Okay. Uh, yeah. So that's the stuff that I feel is interesting to someone other than just me. Maybe. Probably not, but you know, best best hopes here. So, um I hate to say it, but I've burned through the topics that I had, which to be fair wasn't that surprising because again, this week has been shockingly uh devoid of interesting subjects. Um Not to say that that there wasn't a few things or weren't a few things mentioned certainly in the tech channel. Um but yeah, I don't know, I don't have much to say on things like a new a new Samsung robot, or one that'll probably never come into existence in homes. Um you know, the Wizard of Oz stuff is neat. I don't really have much to say about it though. Uh the AI server chips are cool, but what is there to say? Um, yeah, like the list of things that have been brought up in tech, it's a lot of stuff that, yeah, I mean it's just kind of straightforward. There's very little position to have on it. So yeah, it's just been one of those weeks. Anyway, it I may as well put it out there. Is there anything else anyone would want to bring up, or any other interesting discussion topics? Um, Also, really quickly, just double checking. Okay, this was not posted on my Discord. I just want to mention I just saw the weirdest statement. As somebody said, the Xbox Series X is perfect for stacking PS5 games. As in on top of it. This person has a problem. Just going to say that. Anyway. Oh, okay. Kind of looking around, seeing if there's anything else to justify extending the show, but I have a feeling there's probably not going to be. What else? What else is going on? Oh, of course, I mentioned it last week. The last couple of reviews that I am going to be writing for AP for quite a while are now up. It is the TerraMaster T12 500 Pro, a 12 bay NAS. Why we ended up reviewing this, I don't know. I just honestly do not know. But it is a crazy, over the top, huge NAS. This is insane for anyone to actually have in the home. It is a $1,800 NAS, so definitely more than the average house would ever consider spending on something like this. But I did review it. It's nice. That is my official position on it. It is nice. And if you'd like to hear a little bit more about how it was interesting to me, I have a second piece that I was asked to write that is in fact about my experience using a high-end NAS, and that will be coming out. Actually, I don't know when, but somewhere in the next week or so. I also, of course, reviewed the DJI Air 3S. But I'm also going to be coming out with a piece in the next, week or so about how to spot phony memory cards. Yeah, that's also going to be a thing. So, with that, I don't know, that's just some of the stuff I'm working on. Double checking if there was any suggestions. I do not see any. So, with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the week. And by the time I finish my spiel, I will have made it to a whopping 90 minutes. So, I'm going to call that a win for the week, given the circumstances. That and Corbin and I, there was no Corbin for us to have as the banter back and forth. So, yeah. Huge thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, being in the chat room, and listening to me babble relentlessly for the last 90 minutes. I will be back this weekend for some game streams, mostly Overwatch, very possibly some Marvel Rivals, but probably going to be very heavy Overwatch because of competitive drives. Then next week, hopefully Corbin's back. We're going to do some more RambleCasty stuff. And who knows what will have happened by that time. The world could change in so many ways in the next week, and I don't think anyone can possibly be ready for it. But with that said, if you'd like to support the channel, the links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: David, Austin, Carson, Diablo, and Curvy Mermaid. Y'all are awesome. And yeah, that's about it. So I hope you all have an excellent rest of your week, a good weekend to come, and who knows what else to follow. So wish you all the best. And with that, good night, everybody.